Did you consider the possibility that the object on top of the tripod was a camera?
It never crossed my mind, no, sir.
Did you ever think about what it might be?
Objection form? No, sir, I did not.
Sir, do you understand that the testimony you give today has the same force and effect as if you were before the judge and jury?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you please raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Mr. Short, could you tell me your full name for the record, please?
Yes, sir. It's Keith Wayne Short.
And where were you located?
At my residence. Do you need the city?
Yes, please.
Okay, in McClendon, Chisholm, Texas.
How long have you been a police officer?
Roughly 17 years, sir.
What police departments have you worked for?
I've worked for the Cattle Mills Police Department, the Hunt County Sheriff's Office, and Royse City Police Department, and I'm currently employed by the Sunnyvale Police Department.
During your training before you became an active officer, did you receive any training related to constitutional rights of citizens?
Yes, sir. There were multiple amendments of the Constitution covered during the academy.
Do you remember any specific details from the Second Amendment training?
Not off the top of my head, sir.
What about the Fourth Amendment?
No, sir.
After you became an active officer, have you received any training related to constitutional rights?
I've received so much training over my time as an officer. I can't tell you accurately if I have or I haven't.
Are you familiar with the protections that the First Amendment provides citizens related to speech?
I know they have the right to free speech. If you're asking me the correct definition, then I'd have to say no.
Are you aware or familiar with the protections that the First Amendment provides journalists?
No, sir, I don't.
Have you ever been involved in an arrest where someone was arrested for something they said?
Other than this one that we're doing the deposition over, sir, not that I recall.
Have you ever been involved in the arrest of somebody that was recording something with a camera?
I do not remember.
Have you ever been involved in an arrest involving a protester?
Not to the best of my knowledge, sir.
How would you describe Noel's demeanor that day when you arrived on the scene?
I'm not quite sure what you're asking me there.
Did he seem hostile to you?
I didn't have any contact with this, so to answer your question on that, he was never hostile towards me.
Did you see him behave in a hostile manner toward anyone?
Yes, sir. But you're asking me for an opinion on what hostile is. I may have a different opinion than you on what hostile is. I did observe him not being cooperative, if you want to say that's hostile. He was not being cooperative when officers approached him.
So do you think that Winston Knowles' lack of cooperation meant that he was hostile?
Objection form. I believe that he was hostile in a way of not answering the questions. In the video, if I remember correctly, when officers spoke to him, he also turned his back to them in a manner which, to me, said he was being uncooperative and was not going to be cooperative at that point.
Do you think he deserved to be arrested for not being cooperative?
I don't have an answer for you, Mr. Alexander, because I was not the arresting officer, nor was I the officer that was doing the investigation into that situation at that time.
What do you think usually goes on a tripod?
Depends on the type of tripod you're asking.
I'm asking you, in your opinion, what are most tripods used for?
Objection, fall.
Well, sir, the tripods I'm used to seeing are ones that hold shop lights of some sort to light the area up or to light up a work area.
And so where are shop lights usually used?
I'm sorry, shop lights, is that what you're asking me?
Where are they most often used?
Objection, fall.
It could be outside in a construction area. It could be inside a building under construction. It could be multiple locations.
Do you have a lot of experience with shop lights?
No, sir.
What is your experience with shop lights?
Other than using the one that I had when I was younger and doing work in my own garage or at my own residence.
When was the last time you used a shop light?
It's been multiple years because I no longer own one with a tripod setup.
Is it more than 20 years?
No, not that one. Between 5 and 10 years ago, I think, or well, hold on, probably around 10 years.
Do you ever take pictures with a camera?
Yes, sir.
Do you have a phone with a camera feature?
Yes, sir, I do.
How often do you take photos with your phone?
Objection, fall.
I don't know that I would say once a day, but I've probably used it throughout the week. So to give you an accurate answer, I don't know. I mean, I use it throughout the week for different things.
Do you have any experience with other kinds of cameras other than a cell phone?
Well, I'm kind of old, so I've the old Instamatic cameras that you would mail in to get developed, to all the way up to Canon AE1 cameras, and I have a little bit of experience with the newer 35 millimeter cameras that hold the digital cards in them. So I have taken pictures with various types of cameras, yes.
Did you see any light being emitted from the device on the tripod that day?
No, sir.
But you thought it was a shop light?
I believe it was a tripod for a shop light. I wasn't completely sure what it was.
Did you know that something was attached to the tripod?
All I saw was what looked like black plastic attached to the top half of it.
And what does your cell phone look like? Does it look like black plastic?
With the OtterBox cover on it, yes.
And if you saw a cell phone that was on a tripod recording, would it look like what you saw that day?
Objection, fall.
I don't believe so, sir.
But you just said that a cell phone looks like black plastic. And if a cell phone is on a tripod, you don't think it looks like what you saw that day.
Objection.
What I'm explaining, sir, is what I saw attached to the upper half of that tripod. I could not give you an accurate answer if I thought that was a cell phone or not.
Why did you move the tripod that day?
To move it out of my way in case I needed to go in to help the two officers.
Why did you think you might need to help them?
Again, when it comes to backup or, officer safety, I wanted the clearest point to get directly to them if the individual decided to become combative with the other officers.
Did you think that there was an emergency?
Yes, sir, because if I remember from looking at the video, to refresh my memory, that was at the point that Mr. Knowles, I believe, threw himself on the ground. So I wasn't sure what was going to transpire at that point.
Why didn't you step around the tripod?
There was, if you look at the video, the ground, in the area, there's standing water and mud. I don't want to get muddy. I don't want to slip in the mud.
Did you see Dial slap the signs?
Yes, sir, I did.
Can you describe the demeanor in which he slapped those signs?
Objection form.
I don't, Mr. Alexander, I don't know what you mean by the demeanor. Can you restate what you're asking for in that question?
Did he slap them hard?
Objection.
I can't, my definition of hard yours may be completely different. The way I can answer that question for you is I believe he used enough force to get the signs out of Mr. Knowles' hands. Now, whether that's hard, soft, or in between, I don't have an answer for you.
Do you think that Knowles held the signs in a threatening manner?
I don't recall.
Did you see Mr. Knowles again after he was arrested that day?
Yes, sir, I did. Sometime after that date, yes, sir.
And could you describe that incident to me?
He was positioned across the street from the side entrance to the PD, holding a sign. As I pulled along that road to turn to pull into the backside of the PD, he was standing there and made an offensive gesture towards me.
What was that offensive gesture?
As you and I would know, he flipped me off, gave me the finger.
Why do you call that an offensive gesture?
Because most people that I know or I don't know how to explain it. Most people I know would find that offensive.
Was anyone else around when he made that gesture?
At the time, I don't know that I saw anybody else around. But I was driving my patrol car. There was no opposing traffic coming towards me. I couldn't tell you if there was anybody behind me or if there was anybody else on the sidewalk or anywhere near that side of that building that would have witnessed it. No.
Do you know what time of day that was?
It was during the day. I couldn't accurately give you a time.
Why didn't you arrest him for that?
I was trying to get to the PD to take care of something. So I just pulled in. First off, even though I may not like it, if you understand law enforcement, we don't have the right to be offended. So him flipping me off does not give me that authority to arrest him. So I just ignored him, pulled in, and walked into the PD.
Do you think that police officers have a duty to protect citizens from other officers violating their constitutional rights?
Objection form.
Yes, sir.
If you had known that another officer on the scene that day was violating Knowles' constitutional rights, would you have helped Knowles?
Objection form.
Sir, if I saw an officer violating somebody's rights, I would do what is right as a law enforcement officer, and I would do what I was sworn to do, which was to protect and uphold, which means yes, in answer to your question.
Did you see Dial slap Knowles' signs?
You asked me that before. Yes, sir, I did.
How did you feel about that slap?
Objection form.
I didn't have an opinion one way or the other on that, sir. I don't quite understand what you're asking.
I'm asking you if you thought it was appropriate for Dial to slap those signs in that moment.
Objection form.
I did not hear the conversation between them at that point, so I don't feel it was unreasonable for him to slap the signs out of his hand.
Were you watching Knowles the whole time you were on the scene?
Objection form.
Yes, sir.
Did you see Knowles take any aggressive action against anyone that day?
You're asking me for an opinion when your question about an aggressive stance. We could both have a different opinion of what an aggressive stance is.
What I'm asking about your opinion.
Objection form.
In what I saw when officers approached him and went to talk to him and he turned away from them, I believe could be constituted as an aggressive manner because you don't know what an individual is capable of doing when they turn away from you.
Do you think that turning away from the officers justifies Dial slapping those signs?
I don't have an answer for you.
Did you consider the possibility that the object on top of the tripod was a camera?
It never crossed my mind, no, sir.
Did you ever think about what it might be?
Objection form.
No, sir, I did not.
Okay, I don't have any more questions. I think we're all done.
Reserve our questions till trial.
Thank you, Mr. Alexander. It was a pleasure.